The scream cut through the night like a blade through flesh. It wasn't loud at first, just thin and desperate, carried by the cold wind that rattled the leaves of the old trees lining the highway. Most people who drove past that stretch of road never noticed sounds like that. They were too busy getting home, too busy with their own problems. But that night, one man heard it. And because he did, dozens of lives would be changed forever. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Her feet were bare, blackened with dirt and scratches, her dress torn and hanging off one shoulder. She ran out from between the trees, waving her arms wildly, her face streaked with tears and fear, so raw it almost didn't look human. She stumbled in front of a roaring motorcycle, forcing it to skid to a stop inches from her small body. The engine growled angrily, a sound that would normally send a child running in the opposite direction, but she didn't move away. She stepped closer. "Please," she cried, her voice breaking as she grabbed the leather jacket of the rider. "They hung my mom on a tree. Save her." The man on the bike was everything people warned their children about. He was tall and broad-shouldered, his beard thick and streaked with gray, his arms covered in dark tattoos that told stories most people were too afraid to hear. His jacket bore the emblem of a biker club that made store owners nervous and police officers cautious. Around town, people whispered his nickname like a curse. Some called him a devil, others called him a hell angel. To the little girl, though, he was just someone who had stopped. For a moment, he didn't move. He looked down at her small hands, clutching his jacket, and something inside his chest tightened in a way it hadn't in years. He had seen violence, caused violence, lived through things that would keep most people awake at night. But a child begging for her mother's life was a different kind of pain. It reached places he had locked away long ago. He killed the engine. The sudden silence felt heavy. He knelt so he was eye level with her, noticing how her whole body trembled, not just from fear, but from cold and exhaustion. She smelled of smoke and damp earth. Her eyes were wide and red, filled with a terror no child should ever know. "Where is she?" he asked, his voice low and steady, though something dangerous was beginning to stir beneath it. The girl pointed back toward the trees, her arms shaking. "They're bad men," she sobbed. "They hurt her." They laughed. "Please don't leave." He didn't ask who they were. He didn't ask why. He simply stood, helped the girl onto the seat of his motorcycle, wrapped his jacket around her small shoulders, and started the engine again. As he rode toward the darkness of the woods, he reached for the radio, clipped to his handlebars, and pressed a single button. "Brothers," he said, his voice calm but edged with steel, "I need you now." Deep in the woods, the girl's mother hung from a thick oak tree, her wrists bound with rope, her feet barely touching the ground. Her face was swollen, her lips split, her eyes half open and unfocused. Each breath was a struggle. Around her, several men stood drinking and laughing, their shadows dancing wildly in the firelight. To them, it was entertainment. To them, she was nothing. They didn't hear the motorcycles at first. The laughter was too loud, the night too alive with their cruelty. But then the ground began to vibrate. One by one, the sounds grew closer. Engines rumbling like distant thunder, rolling in fast. The first man noticed it and frowned. He turned, squinting into the darkness. Headlights appeared between the trees, then more, and more, until the woods were suddenly alive with light. The laughter died. Fear crept in where arrogance had lived moments before. The Hell Angel rode into the clearing first. He parked his bike, gently lifted the little girl down, and told her to close her eyes. Then he walked forward slowly, each step deliberate. His presence alone seemed to change the air, making it heavier, charged with something final. Behind him, bikes kept coming, dozens of them, 99 in total. Men and women dismounted in silence, forming a wide circle around the clearing. Leather jackets, scars, weathered faces, people society had written off as monsters. But right now, every single one of them was looking at the woman hanging from the tree, and the men who had done this to her. The Hell Angel looked at the ropes, then at the woman's face, and then at the little girl peeking through her fingers behind him. Something inside him snapped clean in two. "You had your fun," he said quietly. "Now it's over." What happened next wasn't pretty, and it wasn't quick, but it was justice of a kind those men had never expected to face. When it was done, the woman was cut free and laid gently on the ground. A biker with medical training knelt beside her, checking her breathing, wrapping her in a blanket. Others stood guard, ensuring no one else would ever hurt her again. The little girl ran to her mother, crying into her chest, calling her name over and over. The woman's eyes fluttered open, and when she saw her daughter, a weak smile touched her bruised lips. She was alive, barely, but alive. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called for help. When the police arrived, they found a scene they would never forget. They found injured criminals tied up neatly, a woman rescued from the brink of death, and nearly 100 bikers standing calmly beside their machines, waiting. The Hell Angel stepped forward and raised his hands before anyone could ask. "She's alive," he said. "That's what matters." News of that night spread quickly. People told the story in hushed tones, changing details, exaggerating some, softening others. But the truth was powerful enough on its own. A little girl had begged a man everyone feared, and he had answered in a way no one expected. For the Hell Angel, that night cracked open a past he had buried. He remembered his own childhood, the nights he hid under his bed while his parents fought, the day no one came when he needed help most. He had grown up believing the world was cruel, and that the only way to survive was to become crueler. But when that little girl grabbed his jacket, something shifted. For the first time in decades, he didn't feel like a lost cause. In the weeks that followed, he visited the mother and daughter in the hospital. At first he stayed in the doorway, uncomfortable and unsure, but the little girl always ran to him, hugging his legs, calling him her angel. Each time she did, a piece of his old self fell away. He started changing things, small things at first. He pushed his club to get involved in community work, protecting abused families, helping people no one else would. Some laughed at him, some resisted, but many followed, inspired by the same fire that had driven them into the woods that night. The mother recovered. The little girl went back to school. Life slowly stitched itself back together, not without scars, but stronger where it had been torn. And the man everyone once called a devil became something else entirely. Not a saint, not perfect, but a protector. Years later, when asked why he stopped that night, why he listened to a child when everyone else had passed by, he would simply say that sometimes redemption doesn't come quietly. Sometimes it runs barefoot into the road, grabs you by the jacket, and dares you to be better than you've ever been. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that kindness can come from the most unexpected places, and that it's never too late to change, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this matter because they remind us that even in the darkest moments, one act of courage can light the way for many. And sometimes, the angels we need don't have wings at all. They ride on two wheels and answer when a child begs for hope.